So hello folks, welcome this afternoon live from the Hotel Africa community here in District number 17, Monserrate County. Well, over the weekend, we brought you a live broadcast from here where my colleague, Masami Konen, during the week, followed the demolition exercise that was being carried out by the Ministry of Public Works, and this is just for the road corridors in the Hotel Africa community. So earlier on, the Ministry of Public Works announced that by October 18, they would have moved in and begin the process of demolishing structures within the Hotel Africa community, some of the folks who actually built on the government property. But that discussion is, but today the Public Works Ministry is continuing the demolition exercise of folks who actually erected structures along the Hotel Africa Road community. So as you speak, the Ministry of Public Works machine is already ahead of us. So these are all places where the machine started from during the weekend on Saturday, and thanks to Masami Kone, who also brought you the live broadcast. So I'm here with my colleague Damu Afufana, and jointly we're going to be bringing you coverage of this continuous demolition exercise here by the Ministry of Public Works. Thanks for watching, and we'll take you through very slowly as we move towards the point where the machine is already carrying out the work. So thanks for watching. But yes, this is a continuous process, and so we are every time bringing you a live coverage of this work. So folks here actually erected some of their shops. Like you see here, this used to be a major entertainment center here, where you have the folks here have actually been asked to relocate, and some of their belongings were actually removed, if not all of it were removed from this building. And so the Ministry of Public Works machine actually marked this place. But while we arrived here, we experienced a little bit of break because the Ministry of Public Works machine had a tire punch up, so they had to go and repair the machine tire before coming to continue with the work. So the machine is just ahead of us, and we will take our time to move there gradually so you can see for yourselves exactly what is happening here in the Hotel Africa community, specifically District number 17, Monserrate County. So later on during this broadcast, we will attempt to speak to the supervisor of this team, because I was wondering why I said that they are using such a machine where anytime you can experience a leakage from the tire, unlike the excavator that is well positioned to do such work. But yeah, however, this is ongoing. The work is still taking place. So this is it, and the Ministry of Public Works machine so as you may be aware that the government of Liberia have announced plans to begin developing the Hotel Africa property. So as part of efforts in developing the Hotel Africa property, this is a beginning point whereby you have to clear the way and make sure that some of the structures, or if not all of them, are removed to give easy access to the government as they move about in developing the Hotel Africa facility. For years, some of the residents here have stayed So we say thanks for joining us on this 20th day of October 2025 from District number 17, Masurado County, where we are bringing you this live coverage of a major demolition exercise being carried out by the Ministry of Public Works. Earlier on, they all started from the St. Paul Bridge or St. Paul River Bridge community, and they extended to the Paul River Bridge, where the Ministry of Public Works demolished structures that were actually built in the right of way. And now this is in the Hotel Africa community. Structures that were actually built on the Hotel Africa road are being demolished. And good for the folks here. They are very much cooperative, as we've been told by the supervisor from the Ministry of Public Works. The folks here are very cooperative. They will de-roof their properties even before the coming in of the machines. So that tells you to what extent Liberians are now embracing development in country. Years back, it was forbidden to carry out an exercise of such, because there will be folks who will resist. Some will want to appeal, politicians will also buy into the idea of appealing to the authorities to delay or to place a halt to the entire process on the basis of political wills. Some were actually thinking about what would have happened were they to go for an election. But no, you were actually in the wrong. Do this for the people. Develop the country. Make the country accessible. Inform the people about what they should do and not. And then you will be loved by the people. If you were to ask each and every citizen of this country about their take when it comes to development across the country, I believe they will all agree and say, yes, we want development. So now that we have a government that is solely eager about the welfare, the well-being, and the development of the country, what can the citizens say rather than embracing the national government's effort to develop the country? So stick and stay with us. We are live here from the Hotel Africa community. Specifically, we are just on the main street, the Hotel Africa Road, where the Ministry of Public Works on Saturday started a major demolition exercise of structures that were built in the right of way, and they were actually informed of today's date. Properties were marked, and now that all the necessary arrangements were made, the Ministry of Public Works is now executing its responsibility. Damo Afofana, Ayesiniva, jointly, we are bringing you this exercise. And I see that there is a lady who is now operating the machine. And so gradually we will move behind the machine and see the next location where this exercise very much interesting. To see Liberians, and as always, you have some of the folks or disadvantaged youths making use of the situation to fetch for debris, remaining steels, some pieces of wood. So we were trying to speak with the supervisor here. The main road leading to the Hotel Africa. So the machine is now on the banjo to St. Paul Bridge, new community road. So we're trying to position ourselves so as to observe safety. But yes, this is the banjo. New community road, and the road leads straight to the Hotel Africa Bridge, not the Hotel Africa, but the St. Paul River Bridge. The folks are so much interested in following the machines. It seems like Liberians don't want to be told, but rather be the ones to say, well, it was in October 2025. Around the Hotel Africa community, when I was present where it all started, when the government of Liberia began the process of redeveloping the land, the properties, all the facilities of the Hotel Africa. And I was there, and we saw it. And today what you are seeing was given birth in 2025. So however you are watching, folks, say thanks for watching. So while this is ongoing, and while we were on our way here, we passed by the Ministry of Public Works team along the 72nd community, where there are also folks who are also making sure that all of the pop holes across the country are being redo. So for the asphalt roads, the concrete roads, just wherever across, so interestingly, the folks here are making use of the situation, putting together pieces of steel. There is always a way out for survivability, and this is being displayed here since the Ministry of Public Works started. So you see, folks so like I was saying, the Ministry of Public Works simultaneously is carrying out the patching of roads, of pop holes across the country, and we saw the team around the 72nd community where they have already started marking and removing some of the debris in the pop holes, paving the way for a very smooth road network across the country. So, as was being announced by the Ministry of Public Works, there is an outpour of developmental activities taking place across the country, ranging from road connectivity, infrastructure development, and this is why we at the national broadcaster will always be there to bring you a live coverage of the workings of the government. So your job is to keep following the national broadcaster as we give you play-by-play description of the workings of government. So a very, very notable and historic community, the Hotel Africa community, is where we are specifically. And the folks here are very much cooperative. Just Friday of last week, we were in Cinco, specifically on 6th Street and 4th Street, respectively, where the Ministry of Public Works created an access route from the 6th Street area to connect the Jalatan community. And the same was done from the 4th Street area, connecting the Jalatan community. And this is directly under the supervision of the Division of Zoning and Land Use Planning at the Ministry of Public Works. This is necessary. So the last time we spoke to the Minister of, with the Minister of Public Works, Honorable Roland Lafayette Guinness, and his team, they told us that the government has seen the need to upgrade the facility and its surrounding land space of approximately 393 acres, beginning with the eviction of all squatters with makeshift homes and those with illegal permanent structures. And that was actually premised on the minister's assertion that the move is intended like I said, it was actually premised on the Minister of Public Works assertion that the move is intended to restore the pride of Hotel Africa as one of Liberia's 2 5-star hotels in the past, after the Ducal Palace in the 1960s. As you may be aware, that Hotel Africa a former luxurious resort and a five-star hotel in Africa was constructed. Excuse me. You can force me. You guys are generally also listening. There's a royalty. So sorry folks for the break in transmission, but like I was saying, the Hotel Africa, formerly luxurious resort and the five-star hotel in Africa, was constructed in 1979 to host the Organization of African Unity, the OAU summit in Monrovia, and the complex featured a main hotel, separate villas for heads of state, a conference center, a casino, and a golf course. But during the Liberian Civil War, 1990 to 2003, the Hotel Africa was looted, damaged, and used by rebel forces for attacks. So, following the war, the site was repurposed by the United Nations for troops and later occupied by citizens, remaining in a state of disrepair despite various redevelopment plans. So let's try to give you a little bit of a scene of this community. So this is exactly the Hotel Africa, the new community, and this is a stretch of road that leads to the Hotel Africa, not the Hotel Africa, but the St. Paul River Bridge. So this is actually a detour to the main street there, and like you see, some of the properties that are marked and are in the right of way are already de-roofed, waiting for the machine to move in and begin clearing. some of the structures that are marked. Like I told you previously, the folks here are not waiting for the machine to move in, but rather they are de-roofing their buildings so that they cannot be evicted 100%. Because obviously you know that with the coming of the machine, you are going to be losing out on your structures that were actually erected in the right of way. But to give you a space, or to give you chance to actually get some of the stuff out of this place before the coming of the machine, it's safe to take time to de-roof your building, because once the machine moves in, it's not about giving time to you again, but rather the machine will have no alternative, or the folks from the Ministry of Public Works will have no other alternative but to actually demolish the structures marked by the Ministry of Public Works. So yes, this is just to give you a scene of how this road will look like when the machine shaft move in. Already looking at the present look of the road, and then upon the completion of the exercise, this road is going to be wider than the way it is currently. It's going to be wider than the previous or the current ones that are across the Hotel Africa community. So yes, this is a live coverage of the Ministry of Public Works demolition exercise for the road expansion of the Hotel Africa corridor, because the government recently announced plans to develop. The government recently announced plans to develop the Hotel Africa property. And so as part of the way to do so is to firstly begin with the issue of zoning to determine the rightful structures that are out of the right of way, and those ones that are in the right of way should be identified. And yes, that was actually done. And so after identifying those structures that were built in the right of way or erected in the right of way, and the folks being informed that they were in the right of way, and the next thing to do is to give them a little bit of time to relocate, and that was actually done. And now the expiration date given folks who actually the expiration dates given folks who were actually caught in the right of way has expired, and now giving the Ministry of Public Works the go ahead to move in. So, however you are watching, this is the national television service of the Liberia Broadcasting System, bringing you a live coverage of a major demolition exercise taking place here in the Hotel Africa community. And where we are currently is the Banjo New Community Road. This road leads to the St. Paul River Bridge, where some part of last month the Ministry of Public Works began the process of clearing structures along that corridor, and that started from the St. Paul River Bridge and ended around the Paul River Bridge community. That was phase one. That was actually phase one, and it will continue as far as the Bowater side corridor, because mind you, the government have also said that there are plans to pave the road from the St. Paul River Bridge to the Bowater side point of entry. So quite a laudable venture on the part of national government being executed by the Ministry of Public Works. The ministry duly responsible for road works across the country. So we will go a little bit further to give you a pictorial look of this Banjo New Road, a new community. I recall that the first day of this exercise, and then it was all about folks actually embracing. It was all about folks embracing the work of the Ministry of Public Works. So it tells you what is in Liberia, in Liberia, are eager for development across the country. This is a very old nation that is lacking behind in terms of development. Too many countries, of the countries in the region are being referenced whenever Liberians are discussing development across the continent Africa. You see folks referencing Ghana. There are folks who will also reference Sierra Leone. Some will actually reference the Africa Coast. But yes, if you were to do a survey of how some of those countries, if you were to investigate or do a research on how some of those countries got to the level at which they are, a little bit of demolition was done. Unlike a very virgin land or land space where authorities of said country decided to go and develop. But even in Ghana, that Liberians are quick to reference in terms of development. You cannot develop or discuss the development of Ghana without mentioning the issue of demolition. A lot of buildings, talking about huge infrastructure, duplexes were built so a whole lot of valuable properties were either knowingly or unknowingly built in the right of way, and those properties were actually brought down because you cannot have a personal property storing the development of an entire country. So this is why you won't see people agitating, because they are fully aware and cognizant of the fact that yes, this is so folks, like we started, this is intended to give you an understanding about the demolition exercise being carried out by the Ministry of Public Works. It all started Saturday, where my colleague Masiami Konen brought you a live coverage of the start of the clearing of major structures that were actually marked by the Ministry of Public Works in the Hotel Africa community, specifically along the Hotel Africa Road. So This portion is actually the Hotel Africa Rule community where some of the structures were actually demolished, and then today the Public Works Ministry, they are focused. So thank you, folks. Thanks for joining us. There was a little bit of adjustment in the sound here, and so thanks to my colleague Damo Afofana. And so you can just inform us in the comment section to see if we are better off now with the sound system. Yes, please do this very briefly in the comment section. Earlier on when we started, there were folks who actually commented in the comment section and said they weren't getting us, so we want to see if whether the sound quality is yeah, just okay. So yeah, okay, folks are saying that the quality of the sound is much better. But yes, we are in district number 17, Mosrali County, precisely somewhere around the Sarah Barkley Elementary and Junior High School. This is in the Z-Town, Lower Virginia, Mosrali County, where you have the Sarah Barkley Elementary, Junior and Senior High School. Just passed by the school here in Z-Town. That is Z-A-Y-E, Z-Town, Lower Virginia, District 17. So we are moving a little further now to where the machine is stationed at the moment. This exercise is a continuous process. Giving visibility to drivers, pedestrians, and making sure that people are informed of government-owned properties, and that when you go about constructing, bear in mind that there is a space called the major alleys streets and public facilities across the country, because one day the government might just move in to develop some of those for years. So we are today in District 17. It's very interesting that cakes, Zillia cakes are following back to back the public works machine as they go about with this exercise. So wherever you are and however you're watching, folks residing at home and abroad, so interesting scene here in District 17, Maserati County. For the record, this district is being spearheaded by Bernard Benson, who is the district lawmaker. So stay here in district number 17, Lower Virginia. I'm being told that this is the new community. This community is referred to as the new community here in the Hotel Africa area. District 17. That's where we are. So kids are being warned to stay off the demolition zone, and yet they won't listen as they continue to follow the public works machine from the Hotel Africa area. And now we are just a stone throw away from the St. Paul River Bridge. Recently, the government of Liberia announced plans to develop the Hotel Africa property. As part of the arrangement, properties were marked along the right of way. They were given time to relocate and to also use the time to de-roof their structures along the way. So good for some of them. They were able to follow the instructions from the Ministry of Public Works. we say kudos to the folks from the Ministry of Public Works. They are very professional in terms of handling the folks are very professional in handling the affairs of the communities, which is obviously paying off for them and that of the communities that folks are not agitating, but rather they are corresponding folks here are corresponding in adherence to the zoning division at the Ministry of Public Works. So they months back moving and marked structures that they deemed were in the right of way. Since then, they've been having a very cordial relationship with the affected residents and the entire community. I've not seen a situation or a case whereby folks resisted or try resisting the public works folks from carrying out their work. So for those who are just joining this broadcast, we'd love to say thanks for joining us. We are here in district number 17, Monterey County. Where the Ministry of Public Works has embarked on clearing structures along the Hotel Africa corridors. So previously, or months back, we visited this particular location. So it all started from this point, the Simple River Bridge, where the first phase for the demolition exercise by the Ministry of Public Works for the road construction works from St. Paul River to the Water point of entry started. So as you can see already here, part of the houses here were earmarked. Some were demolished. Now for the remaining ones, they are being touched because this route, the new community, or if you made a Lower Virginia community rule in Hotel Africa, is also being clear. So previously, the excavator was used by the Ministry of Public Works to carry out this exercise, but I'm told that the excavator is being worked on. So this is the wheel loader that is carrying out this exercise. Unlike the excavator, the wheel loader rakes the tiles coming in contact with foreign objects, which could obviously flatten this tile. So unlike the excavator, which in my mind is 100% suitable for this job. Liberians has This exercise continues. Liberians continue to applaud the government of Liberia for a lot of developmental initiatives taking place across the country. Liberians both at home and abroad continue to praise government of this initiative. District number 17 in Moscow County, where we are covering an ongoing demolition exercise being carried out by the Ministry of Public Works. This is squarely in District 17. And this road leads to the Hotel Africa main route. So why this exercise is ongoing, it's also safe and prudent that we pass on this information coming from the Ministry of Health. And this release says the Ministry of Health informs the general public of an increase in seasonal flu cases nationwide, with Moscow County reporting the highest number. Common symptoms include fever, cough, runny nose, sneezing, sore throat, headache, body itches, and fatigue. So high risk groups include children and chronic illnesses such as asthma, diabetes, or heart disease. And there is also a preventive actions that can be carried out. One is seeking medical attention if you develop these flu-like symptoms, and wear a mask when around others. Another one is that you stay home when sick to prevent transmission. Also wash hands regularly with soap and clean water. Cover your mouth and nose when coughing or sneezing. Just that is like those objects that we touch frequently, they should be disinfected. Avoid crowded and poorly ventilated areas. And what is the government response to this situation? One is the government, as we speak, has enhanced surveillance in health facilities and also public awareness campaigns in communities and through the media. There are also plans being worked out in collaboration with the Ministry of Education to strengthen health measures in schools. So the Ministry of Health assures the public that effective measures are being implemented and encourages everyone to adhere to these preventive actions to protect themselves, their families, and their communities. So yes, we totally want to bring you this all important information coming up from the Ministry of Health, speaking about the seasonal fruit alert in Liberia. Just recently, I've seen some of my colleagues, professional colleagues, family members. It seems like everyone just coming down with cold. So I was wondering what was actually going on. So thank God and thankfully the Ministry of Health is now informing the public of a seasonal fruit alert in Liberia, which is typically involved with what we call cleansing, sewing, and what have you. So they say folks who send high risk, or the group of people that are of high risk, students, elderly persons, pregnant women, individuals with chronic illnesses such as asthma, diabetes, or health diseases. So that's the foot, but let's say here in district number 17 in Masturado County, where purposely we are bringing you a live coverage of a major demolition exercise taking place here in district number 17, Masturado County. From where we are currently, this road somewhere around St. Paul River Bridge. This road leads to the Hotel Africa main road. There's a good detour. still here. Ministry of Public Works, we load up, gradually clearing structures from this angle. Yes. Forming part of this exercise. Very much interested in following the public works machine. From point A to point B. Since the start of this exercise, you see case the elderly ones all developing interest in what is to be the major comeback of the Hotel Africa facility. Folks are always standing ready to benefit from